So we want to talk about quick ways to determine if a candidate for your team would be a good member or not. And we want to evaluate if they resonate with your team. Do they jive? Do they bring good energy? Are they going to help bring balance and productivity to the work environment and not detract from it? So you're in the interview process, and we're going to first, there's three things we're going to evaluate for. We're going to evaluate for a cultural fit. And while we're doing that, we're observing a few specificities, specific things about their behavior that we want to look for, the unspoken language. And then the third thing, if the time allows, we want to implement some kind of a problem solving exercise to see how they would solve problems in a team environment, collaborating with others. So little ways to see in the interview process if this candidate is truly going to resonate with your team. So let's start with the first one. And that is, are they a cultural fit? And during this part of the interview, we're going to ask a lot of open-ended questions that probe for the candidate's understanding and attitude around teamwork, working with others, adaptability, and cultural fit. So we want to ask them their own personal experiences in dealing with this in the past and where they came from before, because it might have been allowed where they were before, and they might think it's totally appropriate. Who knows? So you want to be able to probe for that and ask those open-ended questions. So a good question might be, share an experience you had with a challenging team environment, and what did you learn from it? So this is going to give us a little insight into how they problem solve amongst the team, and if they're able to grasp, get the lesson from it, so that we don't have that sort of repeat behavior. We want to be aware of is what their behaviors are during the interview. So we always act in accordance with our beliefs. So what's the behavior like during the interview? Here we're paying attention to the nonverbals. Do they always look at the same people during the interview? Let's assume if it's not one-on-one, it's a panel interview. Are they always answering one or two people, or are they addressing the group? Do they tend to answer more toward one gender or in the room, or one title in the room? Just observations, things to be aware of. You're looking for the varying dynamics. Let's say you are able to bring others from your team into the interview, which I hope you can do. What's their take on it, and what's the varying dynamic between the candidate and those others on your team? You're looking for during this behavioral assessment, you're looking for genuine enthusiasm, that you have somebody who's bringing the appropriate level of energy to the role. So obviously, if this is a role where you need somebody who is very reserved, quiet, perhaps because of the environment in which they're going to be working, then you wouldn't want to bring somebody who's super high energy and can't sit still in the chair very long. So you want the appropriate, that's what I mean by appropriate level of energy. They all don't have to bring the same high energy, but they need to bring the appropriate level of energy for the job that they'll be doing. And then another great quality would be their ability to listen. Do they cut you off when in the middle of your asking a question, or if somebody else in the room is sharing? Do they cut that person off and add a Me Too story to it? Or are they able to digest what that person is saying and respond to it with appropriate comments back or feedback back? Can you say that? Feedback back? And then finally, implement some sort of problem-solving challenge that would mimic a real-life scenario where they would have to work with others in order to solve the problem. I can recall one that was given to me. It was a panel interview, and there were a few physicians on the panel, and one of them was upset with the CFO of the organization and said, how would you handle this where the CFO just blatantly makes cuts to my budget for my service line and I didn't have any input into it? So I don't know that I didn't know the CFO of the organization at that time, but I responded with, I have a very good I have a history of having good working relationships with CFOs and those who work in finance. I enjoy budgets. I enjoy figuring those challenges out and how we can make it equitable for all parties. So my answer included, obviously, I would have to get all the do a little digging and find out what the issues were. But in establishing any sort of a budget, whether that involves cuts or additional dollars, I would definitely communicate all things to all parties involved and would work for it. I would work toward the win-win for everybody in that situation. And he gave me some specifics and I gave some back about approaching it. But when you've done it for so long and you're responsible for an annual budget every year, there's a lot of considerations. There's a lot of stakeholders to that. So obviously it's a team environment and everybody wants their dollars to have the tools and equipment they need to do their job most appropriately. So anytime you can share, have the candidate give examples, real life work examples, scenarios of where they've had to implement problem-solving tasks where they have to collaborate with others is super helpful. So quick ways, 3 key areas to look for: problem-solving challenges, behavioral, nonverbal cues that you're picking up from the candidate, what to look for, and then obviously the cultural fit on candidates to see if they're going to resonate with your team. And these can just be internal candidates within your organization who are already familiar with the vision, mission, and values of the organization, but are they the values and the expression of those values in a way that work for your team? So let me know how that goes for you. I'm sure you'll be successful. Let me know what works for you.